Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the China Glaze Spring Fling collection for spring 2017. There are 12 polishes here all together. I believe I got these from headtotoebeauty.com, so I know they're available there, but I think they're pretty widely available at this point in the season. So again, 12 polishes here, and I will get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Blanc Out, and this is a white with like a drop or two of gray in it. It's like a slightly gray white. This is really close to OPI's My Boyfriend Skills Walls. I do have a dupe video coming up showing all those together. This is slightly brighter, a little bit less gray, but it is close. So here's one coat. This one actually covers really well on that first coat, just a bit streaky still. Good formula on this one. I do think if you had too much on your brush, which is really easy with this, it could run down the sides of the nail if you're not careful. So here is two coats. And this one covers mostly in two coats. You might need three depending on your application because you can get some dark spots. You also get a lot of polish that runs down the stem of the brush. I've got that giant bead there, which is why I mentioned that it is very easy to get way too much on your brush and flood your cuticles with this one. Thankfully, the formula is not super thin, but you do just get a ton, it feels like, on the brush. But with a two-coat white, you can't really complain too much. So there is two coats of Blanc Out. The next polish is called We Run This Beach, and this is a light, barely nude, sand nude color. So here's one coat. And for a light color, this actually covers really well on the first coat. It's still a little bit sheer and streaky, but not nearly as sheer as I would expect a color this light. Great formula on this one, and looking at it outside of the bottle, it almost has a little bit of a pink tone to it. So here is two coats. And this one also covers completely in two coats. Like the white one, it might be right on the edge for some people. You might need three to cover up some dark spots, but it's actually covering pretty well for me in two. And this does also dry very shiny. So there is two coats of We Run This Beach. The next polish is called Life is Sweet, and this is a little bit more of a light peachy nude. This has a slight shimmer to it, and this does dry matte. It's one of those really difficult to work with if you don't know that it dries matte China Glaze polishes that they've been putting out. I had bad luck with it the first time, so we'll see what happens this time. So here is one coat. So this is a bit streaky on that first coat, and going into this knowing that it dries matte and that it dries very quickly, I am trying to work fast and try not to do too many swipes. This one doesn't quite seem to dry as fast as some of the other ones, like Combat Blutes from the fall collection last year, but it does still dry pretty fast. So here is two coats. And the second coat is really where I ran into a problem last time getting it even. I do still have some pretty significant dark spots, so I'm going to do a third coat, but you might not need that, just depending on your application. And the formula on this one is pretty good. You just do have to work really fast with it because it does dry matte. So here's three coats. I am doing a bit of a thicker third coat to make sure that covers up all those dark spots. I will say, for being matte and being a little bit more difficult to work with, it dries pretty evenly. A lot of times you can get these matte polishes that dry with ridges in them, but this one doesn't really do that. It manages to level itself out pretty well before it dries completely. And I do have pictures of this one. You can see it's drying. I do have pictures of this one with and without top coat. So there is three coats of Life is Sweet. The next polish is called Too Much of a Good Fling, and this is a light kind of minty cream. So here is one coat, and this one covers really well on that first coat. It's got a few streaks in it, but it is nearly a one coater. Great formula on this one, and even though it is, again, it feels just like the consistency of the other two creams that I've done, it doesn't feel like it's going to run or pool anywhere. Consistency-wise, it feels like it should pool a little bit, but it really doesn't move. So here's two coats. And this one does cover completely in two. It was nearly opaque in one. As it dried, some of those streaks did show up a lot more than when it was wet. So I don't think you could really consider this a one coater under any circumstances, but it sure was close. So there is two coats of Too Much of a Good Fling. The next polish is called Moment in the Sunset. Oh, this is a pink with a really strong gold shimmer to it. It's almost like the non-textured version of China Glaze Wish on a Starfish, which is like one of my favorite polishes ever. So I really like this. So here is one coat. This is a bit sheer on that first coat, so it does need 2. Great formula on this one. So here's 2 coats. And this one does cover completely in 2. I think you might end up needing 3 if you have really, really white nail line. And there are brush strokes in that shimmer when it's wet, but those do go away as it dries. So there is 2 coats of Moment in the Sunset. The next polish is called I Just Cantaloupe, and this is a peachy, corally pink color. So here's 1 coat. And this one also covers really well on the first coat, just a few streaks. Great formula on this one as well. So far the coverage in this collection for the lighter colors especially are colors that from other brands I would expect, or even from China Glaze, expect to be really sheer. I'm really, really impressed with the coverage on all of these. So here's 2 coats. And this one does cover completely in 2. And this one also dries super shiny. So there is 2 coats of I Just Cantaloupe. So the next polish is called Suns Out, Buns Out, and this is a very sheer peachy jelly base with strong gold shimmer to it. I do have a picture of this in 3 coats on its own, but it was still very sheer. So I'm going to show it as a topper today over I Just Cantaloupe. So here's 1 coat. You can see this just adds very nice gold glitter to everything, or shimmer, I guess, depending on how you look at it. It's kind of like right in between for me. So there is 1 coat of Suns Out, Buns Out. The next polish is called Kiss My Sherbet Lips, and this is a hot pink with like a very slight pinky purple shimmer. So here's 1 coat, and this one is a little bit sheer on that first coat. It's a little sheer, but it covers very evenly. It's not really streaky at all, and the formula is really good. So here's 2 coats, and this one does cover completely in 2, and I feel like it does dry a little bit darker than it applies. The shimmer in here makes it dry just a tiny bit dull, but not terribly. So there is 2 coats of Kiss Me on My Sherbet Lips. The next polish is called It's About Time, and this is a silver. It looks to me like it has a slight green shimmer to it, but I'm 80% sure that's just a reflection of the color of my walls because I can't see it on camera at all. Actually, I'm wrong. I just took this into my living room, which does not have blue-green walls, and I can still see that little bit of a green shimmer in there. So here's 1 coat. This one is a bit sheer on that first coat. Pretty good formula on this one. I do think it would run down the sides of the nail a little bit if you're not careful or if you put too much on the brush. So here's 2 coats. And this one does cover completely in 2. There are some brush strokes here when this is wet. They don't go away fully when it dries, but for the most part they do disappear. So there is 2 coats of It's About Time. The next polish is called Don't Teal My Vibe, and this is a teal shimmer. So here's 1 coat. And this is a bit sheer on that first coat. Great formula though. So here is 2 coats. And this one does cover completely in 2. And like the last one, there are some brush strokes in this when it's wet, but for the most part they go away. You will still have a few left. So there is 2 coats of Don't Teal My Vibe. The next polish is called Crushin' on Blue, and this is a cobalt blue shimmer. So here is 1 coat. This one is actually, it's not super sheer, but compared to the rest of the collection, it's pretty sheer on the first coat. Good formula on this one. It does feel like it would run a little bit if you did too thick of a coat, and it does have that weird, funky blue smell that some blue polishes can get. So here's 2 coats. I can still see my nail line a bit on this one on the second coat, so I'm going to add a 3rd. But it's not super, super bad, so depending on your preference, you might be fine with 2. Actually, I lied. My pointer finger is the only one that I can really make my nail line out on, and I don't think that's quite enough for a 3rd coat. I think I just did a little bit thinner of a coat on that one. So I'm going to call this one good on 2 coats. Change my mind. There is 2 coats of Crushin' on Blue. And the last polish is called Beach It Up, and this is a really shimmery, sparkly champagne, almost a little bit pinky metallic base, and then it has little tiny holographic silver bar glitters and little holographic silver hexes. So here is one coat. This one is a little bit sheer on that first coat. Great formula on this one. It applies really, really smoothly, which I didn't really expect because of the glitter that's in there, and the base just kind of makes it look like it's going to be a little bit chunkier, but it applies really smooth. So here's two coats, and this one does cover completely on that second coat. You might want 3 depending on your application, because I do feel like it just barely covered my nail line on 2 coats. This is also going to dry a bit textured because of that glitter in there, and that glitter is going to stick to the nail. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to remove. So there is 2 coats of Beach It Up. So Moment in the Sunset is by far my favorite. I just love pink and gold shimmer mixed together. It's the greatest thing ever. I think if I were to go through like my absolute favorite polishes of all time, there's probably a good 2 or 3 pink and gold shimmer mixes in there. This is like already a pretty high contender for best of the year 2017. It's gonna go over in that section of a nail polish rack where I keep track of them throughout the year because I really, really like this polish. So that is the China Glaze Spring Fling collection for spring 2017. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.